So I'm right by a river here, and this river is fed by natural mineral springs. I want to take you to a really cool spot on it. And remind you of just how glorious our earth is and how much she just knows what to have for her health. Minerals are natural in our water supply. When we get bottled water, it processes out the minerals. I know that mineral imbalances are really typical in the West and lead to some of the more common, somewhat neurological, because a lot of the minerals have an electrical charge to it, right? If you remember basic chemistry, which I loved. I had a female chemistry teacher and I rocked at chemistry in high school. I loved her. She at that point was my only female high school teacher. If you remember basic chemistry, those charges, positive and negative, right? So minerals on the periodic table have charges to them. So notice the water has a little bit of an orange tint to it. And that's some of the minerals. One of them that causes the orange is iron. So it's very ferrous. There's an orange tint to it. So I have been taking, since becoming a Reiki master, I think it was even level 2, my guidance said, always have a mineral supplement. And I took a liquid version for a long time. Since then I've been doing a different version. But mineral balance helps basic bodily processes. So you could be thriving more if you were to attend to even just your mineral balance. Basic Taoist tenet or philosophy is follow nature's way. So follow nature's way. Let yourself flow. Hi. Guess where I am? So I'm gonna take the camera away from me for a moment. So I want you to see if you can catch. I'm gonna step. So it's gonna be me for a bit, and I'm gonna do what I just did a couple more times. I am at a little bit sweaty here in the heat as I use that hammer and chisel mostly to get out of the ground at this here mine for a special kind of quartz. Let me see if you can catch the light. Glimmering from the sun. The clouds just went overhead. It's okay. I'm at a Herkimer diamond mine, and the sun is splashing onto they're everywhere. The quartz is everywhere, and so I'm using. I can't get this to be filmed while I'm doing a hammer and chisel, but here are 3 rocks that I did use the hammer and chisel on, and chiseled them apart to look for the shiny quartz that Herkimer diamond is. So I find it interesting, and this is really why I wanted, in great part, to film for you from here, because I'm in a quartz mine. The guy was really, really helpful. Crystal Grove Diamond Mining Campground is where I'm at, and his name is Joel. I want to give a shout out to Joel. He's legendary in the world of Herkimer diamonds. And so I find it interesting that here, can you see this shininess? the glitter. There's a quartz. There's one right here hanging off this stone. There's a couple of them, if you can see them. There's one right here. I hope that you can see what I'm pointing to. And there's some more right here. So anything that sparkles, as I come from this view, if you look down for anything sparkling, that is the Herkimer quartz. And it's all throughout the sand. So as you saw, I had that sifter tray. And he told me to use more of the sand in the sifter tray, and I'll score more that way. But I was talking to him about how it's really interesting to me as I take to the water, as you guys saw a couple of different videos so far next to the natural mineral springs. I'm gonna keep talking while I let you look around and get a feeling for this. Let's see if we can pick up more shinies of the quartz on the right there. Look at that. There's a Herkimer diamond. Right there. There's another one. Woohoo! So these little ones I could get chipped or lost right through the sifter tray. I'm putting in my back pocket. So my back pocket's a buzz. So it's interesting to me how there are natural mineral springs, healing springs around the world, where there are also deposits of particularly quartz. I know that Hot Springs, Arkansas also has a really big vault of quartz. I'm not sure the specific kind, if it's just quartz or if it's rutilated, or I think it's actually one of the biggest fault line. The word isn't fault line, but it's deposits or fragments that are in a line of quartz. So if you think about it, the video that you guys watched about mineral balance, right? As I squinted looking in the sun, that if you think of chi that comes out of our hands, and this is something that I only teach my masterminders who are getting trained as vibrational upgrade practitioners. And frankly, it helps you see even more why I'm known as a subtle energies expert. So if chi is electric and magnetic, and minerals are what help one of our two main communication systems, central nervous system, right? And a chakra is at each of the biggest gatherings of neuroreceptors receiving messages from our brain all along our spine. That's where each of the chakras are. It's one of the two main communication systems, the central nervous system, and it's electrical, whereas the hormonal or endocrine is chemical, right? So if minerals help us to have a balanced mineral intake, because the soil is depleted of all the minerals that once were in the soil. When I was traveling to South Africa, for example, it was one of my best friends that I had as a fellow expat when I was living in Taiwan for that decade, and she's from South Africa. And so she and her friends, we went on a walk out in the, I wouldn't call it a forest, I'd call it more a desert, but there were trees there on these paths. And one of the girls was talking about how her grandmother taught them to eat the soil because it was so mineral rich. But in America, because of the agribusiness and the monocrop ag, it's not that resplendent, our soil is. So as I said in the video about the minerals, since my first energy medicine modality, Reiki, which was it was 24 years ago, I've been taking a mineral supplement ever since. First it was liquid, and since then it's been the only company I would buy from for powdered supplements, because he does vibrational medicine to them and upgrades them. And so the mineral balance, if we're in mineral balance, which we're naturally supposed to be because the soil is supposed to have it, and that's our food is then grown in it, and we eat food that's ripe and rich in minerals, then that's going to allow for our central nervous system to have smoother functioning and more balance. But it's also going to support the electrical communication within our body, the more mineral balanced we are. And so if we're supporting the electrical communication in our body, that means we're helping the chi, or vital life force energy, right? Because that's what it translates into. We're helping the chi have more capacity to travel throughout our entire system. So it's another way, as is the hands on in the appropriate positions, once you're attuned as the receiving station, As I talked about those attunements, talking about the intuitive flow that I do and create receiving stations out of us using ancient sacred wisdom, the more electrically active and activated you are, the more you're going to have the chief or the life force, the vital life force energy flowing through your system. And it's a wheel, it's circular. The healthier your central nervous system will be. Now, if you do this kind of work too quickly and too much, that's what's known as Kundalini awakening, but a Kundalini crisis, because it's too much electrical activity and your psyche can't handle that much elevation and activity all at once. And there's no need to get into that, but I mean, what I'm attempting to do right now is caution. Like, you don't want to just like dump a whole thing of mineral supplementation down your body, you know, like woohoo for more chi, you know. You never know. So the earth knows what she's doing, and this is one of the things that I love, and many of you may have picked up on this between reading Reasonable Dragons, my 3rd book, and Dragon Master Matrix, my 4th book. Dragon Master Creatrix. I'm thinking Matrix because he was just talking about the matrix that the crystals lay in. So my 4th book is named The Dragon Master Creatrix. I talk about how at the first levels, my students or vibrational upgrade, as they're becoming vibrational upgrade practitioners, learn about how energy flows throughout the entire human system. So they first work on themselves, and then they learn how to work on others. And then they learn about the earth's energy flows. The electrical current in the earth has a different name. It's not chi, it's called telluric current. And how the earth has its own meridians, or nadis, as they would call them in the yogic culture. And its mineral deposits, especially by natural springs that are mineral rich, right? I mean, like, there's a geological cause for it, right? If there's full of that mineral, because there's a fault line, I'm going to call it, or a line of that crystal, hence that mineral is going to be rich in the springs right by it, right? But there is a natural knowing and wisdom to it all that I love to educate people on, but also remind people about. So there's so much more to having a thriving operating system, and I don't mean your computer or gadgets. Welcome to the Lion's Gate portal that opened on the 26th of July. Blessings.